Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. We are going to start shortly. Bonjour, messieurs, dames. Je vous invite à vous installer. Nous allons bientôt démarrer la session.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. I hope you had a nice rest, and you are welcome to the day 2 of the plenaries. And today we are going to talk about digital wallets, decentralization, and business model. As you know, we are moving from the DPI to the DPEs. That is the ecosystem. We had our stack, we have the infrastructure in place. So now it's the intersection of where the value is. And we have a lineup of speakers today. Each speaker is going to talk for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, and then there will be question and answers for 5 minutes on the Slido. We will do that questions and answers before we move to the next speaker. So without spending so much time, I would like to call our first speaker, Raul Pate. He's the co-founder and chairman and CEO of TechFi. He's going to talk to us on powering digital public ecosystem through PPPs and decentralized digital IDs. Raul.
You don't need it. The slideshow doesn't.
Put the slides.
I think there is some technical difficulty. It's all right. I think we can.
Not yet. We're waiting for the slides to be shown on the front screen.
Have it. Thanks for the introduction, Engineer Aziz. So I want to start with a moment a few years ago. We were in a government office. I wouldn't mention which city. Right across the table was the director who had spent better part of the decade implementing the national ID system of that country. He looked at us and he said, and I remember the exact words, "Today, the system works perfectly, but I cannot guarantee if it's going to be standing here in next 3 years." He continued, "It's not the technology that failed. It was related to the funding that was associated with the administration that was about to change. To make things worse, the keys to the system were with a technology provider who was contractually bound, that was contract limiting. That particular conversation and what happened in that room is why we are here. It doesn't have to be this way. Everybody and every government in this hall has invested significantly in their digital ID systems. Some are in year 1, some are probably in year 5 or further. So here is a question that I want you all to carry for the next 15 minutes. Not whether you build a good system, but will it be standing the next 10 years? Because we have all seen that systems stagnate, they slow down, and even sometimes collapse. And not because of technology issues, but because they were bound to an administration, one vendor contract, or one funding cycle. The other common mistake we see or observe governments doing is mixing digital identity with digital transformation. And I would like to stress on this. Identity is just the mechanism. Your goal is trust. So what the government should be building is the trust infrastructure and the trust rails on which your digital economy is going to run for the next decades to come. So how do we build such an ecosystem? There's only one answer, I would say, or one durable answer, is to build sustainable digital public ecosystems, or DPEs, through genuine public-private partnership, and PPP. We have all looked at various models, and then the PPP seems to have the highest potential because it delivers the value to each stakeholder in the relationship. So let's understand why PPPs are the right vehicle and what does it look like in the real world. Even before we start discussing the actual model itself, let's all agree what are the success or what does the success look like. Any DPE worth building should meet these criteria. Number one, it should be secure and stable. Citizens' data tolerates no excuses. And an unstable system is going to erode the trust the citizens and the relying parties have in your ecosystem. It should be fully sovereign. Nothing, and I mean nothing, leaves the sovereign control of your country. There shouldn't be any foreign influence on your systems. Use case and sector agnostic. It should be built as an infrastructure that is ready to support any sector, any use case, and drive adoption. And then the last, but not the least, it has to be sustainable. It has to have mechanisms to generate revenues that sustain the system, and you do not have to wait for the next donor funding or for the next budget cycle. So let's understand how a PPP actually delivers on all these. And let me try to break down each P because it plays a distinct role. Thank you. The first P is for public, and in this case is the government. The government is the sovereign authority. They set the vision, they own the data, they control participation, and they take the full ownership. They're also responsible for adoption and scaling the ecosystem. But what we see, most governments are either missing it or tend to miss, is that these ecosystems, if well structured, can generate revenue. And not only from eKYC and authentication, but every transaction that runs through this ecosystem. The government runs this as a sovereign utility, and as people or citizens and use cases grow, the value of this sovereign utility grows. The second P is for private. Is the private technology provider. The private technology providers bring something that the government cannot build overnight. They bring the maturity, the productionized ecosystems, the experience that they have in other countries. They help you with not repeating mistakes that have been done by other countries. It's not a pilot It's not a demo application. It's not a reference implementation from GitHub. It is a real production system that is delivering millions of citizens. And critically, it's not a one-time build. We have to get out of the notion of a CapEx project like building a bridge and then just painting it to maintain it for another 50 years. These systems are continuously evolving to align with changing technologies, adapt with changing cyber threat landscapes, and evolving international standards. With a private partner, what you get is a world-class experience and a technology without losing control. And then the third P, which in my opinion is the most important P, is the partnership. In this relationship, both the government and the technology provider are partners because they're sharing the common goal and the common risk. While the government can focus on scaling the system, defining policies, adapting regulations, a true trusted partner is going to invest in building that system with you. They're going to defer the return of investment over the next 5 to 10 years. They're going to go above and beyond than a traditional scope of work that you will contract them for. They will stay to increase adoption. And the reason is because they are structurally dependent on your success as the government. This shared incentive or alignment is what makes a PPP fundamentally different from a traditional procurement program. Now, regardless of who you decide to work with, you must ask or you must demand the following from the partner. The government owns the system. The partner cannot hold, process the data. It's very sensitive. The partner should be able to put or agree to measures that will avoid vendor lock-in. This does not always have to mean take open source or take the source code and run with it. It has to be standards-based to allow interoperability, evolution. And the last but not least is that there should be a clear plan of transfer of knowledge, capacity building, and handover in a defined period of time. The most beautiful thing of a PPP, unlike a procurement contract, where you would spend years to define the requirements, then define the scope of work, negotiate the contract, and then build something, is like the story we tell about roads. You build it, by the time they're ready, the traffic has increased. In a PPP, you could literally go live in a few months. For example, in many cases, you already probably have digital ID systems in place. With a mature partner and a mature ecosystem or a product platform, you can lay the trust rails within months, if not weeks. And then the most important thing is you can start a portfolio of use cases. Now, we have seen this with experience, that if you bet all your, let's say, investments on one use case, and if it fails, it's a disaster. What we have seen in many countries is that use cases start at different paces and they progress at different paces. Some might start fast, slow down versus the other. We also see that a use case that has succeeded in country A may not succeed in country B, or may not give you the adoption. So having a portfolio of use cases does two things. It's an assurance, insurance, as well as it's a hedging. Now, while we spoke about the upside potential of a PPP partnership, it also guarantees or does the risk mitigation. So number one is reduced implementation risk. So I go back, a mature partner, a really mature platform will help you to deploy a system that has been tested. They have gone through the hard problems, be it architectural, be it cultural, be it user experience based, or related to aligning with the local laws. Fewer unknowns means smoother deployment. The second is rapid deployment. Again, a mature system, a platform which has been well tested, can really accelerate your go-to-market. And I'm talking about months and not years. I will demonstrate it with some real lifetime or real-world examples. And then the last one is accelerated adoption. A mature partner will have built a portfolio of proven playbooks. They can exactly tell you which of the use cases has the highest probability of succeeding in your country, taking into factor the economics, the technology, the laws, and the regulations. That experience is very much helpful. To quickly give you some examples, number one is Ethiopia. These are the countries on the right path for digital public ecosystems. Ethiopia, the largest economy in East Africa, more than 120 million people, has taken the right approach. They started with their foundational ID, FIDA ID, on which they have built their decentralized DPI, or identity infrastructure, called FIDA Pass. And I believe that in a few years, they will also be a DPE. The second example is Honduras, a country of more than 10 million people in Central America. A very great example that from signing a contract to going live was only 3 months. But there are two other highlights that I would like to mention about this particular country. Number one, like many of these countries, they started with a very identity issuance focused mission. They were talking about wallet ID issuance. But due to the discussions around the digital public ecosystem, I'm happy to see now that they have shifted their mindset of just becoming a digital ID ecosystem to a digital public ecosystem. The other great thing about this, and which proves the point, is that it survived an electoral cycle, literally a change in presidents from different parties. The value proposition of this ecosystem or the concept is so great that it will survive or transcend elections. The last one is Papua New Guinea. If there is a textbook example, this is the country. It's a country of more than 12 million people in the Asia Pacific. From vision to execution, policy to production, going live in 3 months or less than 3 months after signing a contract, and then building useful cases in 2 months is something I can only say that is a good reference for countries to look at and see how they have come up with this digital public ecosystem from ground up. So Africa is not late to this. And I'm saying that loud and clear because I hear concerns from many officials that we meet. Africa is structurally different. You are not burdened by legacy systems, 20-year-old systems that other regions are trying to upgrade at enormous cost and political difficulty. So with a public-private partnership, I can guarantee that countries in Africa can leapfrog and build sustainable digital ecosystems that are more sovereign, more sustainable, and more citizen-centric. So I would say build sovereign, build sustainable, and build it through partnership. The countries that will make the right decision in the next 3 years are going to define the digital lives of their citizens for the next 30. With that, I would really appreciate the time that has been given to me. I'm more than happy to take questions and also happy to discuss any specific discussions regarding or surrounding the context of your country and how this can be approached. I'm available at booth M15. And thank you very much.
Just stand there. Stand there. Let's, for question and answers, use the Slido, please, to give question and answers for us. So before other people will maybe ask the question, will you elaborate more on the 3 months from beginning to 3 months life cycle? So if there is one agency that wants to start right now, what do you want them to do immediately?
Pretty relevant and practical question, yeah, and I can answer it with authority because we have done it in few countries. Of course, the baseline has to be there. You should have the regulations and policies in place. But the biggest question comes from, usual territorial fight. Like which ministry will actually own the system? Which ministry is a data custodian? Who is actually, serving and using this ecosystem? If those questions are kind of answered, and if there is a sort of an agreement where you understand that no ministry is going to lose the control of their data, no ministry is going to lose the revenues that are generated from that data, there is a solution, there is an approach on how these ecosystems can be built where everybody benefits. When I say everybody, the value chain is the ministries, the government, the citizen, and the relying parties. Just showing a stick to the private sector to come and join the system is not helpful. We have seen that it fails. You have to incentivize everybody, the citizens as well as the private sector, to come in. To simply wrap up the answer is that if you have the right policies, if you have the right mindset, what it takes, technology is the last piece of it, right? If you have a mature system with very basic infrastructure, we are able to deploy, set up the trust rails, the trust infrastructure, and then onboarding use cases literally took a few weeks, including integration of a live bank to start opening bank accounts, telcos for SIM registration, police to issue their clearance certificates. These are all less than 1 month technical integration jobs. The most time was spent signing MOUs between the departments and getting it to roll.
All right. Thank you very much. In your third example, the Honduras, can you tell us the proportion of the funding between the government, the international partners, and ours?
Yeah, thank you. So, and again, we are fortunate to be involved in countries across the globe. Every region has its own way of procurement of these projects. In some cases, there were banks like IDB providing some startup funding. We talk about startup funding. If you're going to run this ecosystem as an enterprise, think of it as a startup. You put some startup cost, you set up basic infrastructure, and let the ecosystem play out and generate its revenue. And what happens with this is that with very less pocket out of the money, you're going live, you're running it, and then you're relying on the partnership between your technology provider to build the business models. And what we also do is we literally give the partners, which is the government, the business models on how they can actually start generating revenues. And again, I keep going back. It's not about generating revenues from eKYC and authentication. There is a lot more to be done with these ecosystems.
Okay, thank you very much. The Slido is still not yet on, so let me ask you one last question. The decentralized credential storage shifts the failure mode from a single national to those smaller devices. So how do you handle device loss or replacement and revocation at the population sites?
So it's a very good technical question, I would say. So there is a few things that I would like to highlight that you brought up. One is centralized versus decentralized, and there is a whole topic. I can spend an hour explaining the benefits and issues with a centralized approach versus a decentralized approach, from cybersecurity to investments to power. The decentralized approach, at the core, leverages the cell phones, the power you have at the edge to do your edge transactions. The telcos play a big role, but what we build is an inclusive system. So we ensure that people who do not have a phone, I'm saying do not have a phone, can still participate in these ecosystems through agent models. And we have successful deployments of that.
Okay, thank you very much, Raul.
All right, thank
you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go straight to our next speaker, Mr. Shanskar Kumar, Head of Sales, Digital ID and Digital Government, Topan Security, is going to talk to us on monetizing digital trust, revenue strategies for Africa's decentralized ID revolution. You're welcome. Thank you. You have control.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shashank. So before I start with the presentation, I would really like to give you an example about a woman. Her name is Alice. So imagine she rises in the morning somewhere in Abidjan, Nairobi, Johannesburg, and she has some tasks to do throughout her whole day. She has a business to run, she has a child to feed, she has a loan which she's entitled to. She has been provided a physical ID and a digital ID at the same time. But to access all these services, she still needs to go and visit the government offices or visit the telecom operators to access all these services. She is not invisible. She has been registered to 7 different types of different databases, but still, she still needs to go and visit government databases. So today, as we are gathered over here, so we are in a very inflection point in the history where we know that Africa, being a continent of 1.4 billion people, the question we should be asking is that, do we need a digital identity? No, but this question has already been answered, I think, a decade back. Yes, we need a digital identity, but the real question is that who controls the data, who controls the verification, and who monetizes the verification. So with the current digital identity system, we feel that there are many problems which we see on a day-to-day basis. The first one is that most of the digital identity systems are really disconnected. Citizens today, they carry multiple different IDs with them. All of them are in separate different databases, and they're all disconnected. They don't talk to each other. The second problem is with the centralized digital identity is that they're very costly. It's very hard to scale, and for each and every verification, you really need to go and use the central database or biometric server to do the verification. With the central databases, the biggest problem which we see today is that it's a single point of failure because it's like a honeypot for the hackers, and it's very easy to hack these databases. The fourth one is the underserved communities, like women, like refugees. They are still not linked to the current digital identity ecosystem. Now, what is the solution? The solution is, I would still like to go back to the same example about the woman I was talking to. So imagine if today, if we talk about the decentralized digital identity, which is the way forward, she can still do all that job, but she can do it from the home. She doesn't need to go to a government center or a shop to buy her SIM cards or to open a bank account. She can do everything from her home. And that she can do it with a verifiable credential. A verifiable credentials, which is something which is very portable, which they can carry it in their phone, and something which is the trusted credential, which is issued by the government, and that can be verified anywhere in the world. So these verifiable credentials are based on very international standards like ISO, W3C, OpenID, and these standards are really developed by the experts. I think some of them I saw them sitting over here. And these experts are mainly from the government, from the private sector, from the businesses who have actually collaborated to develop these standards. And because it's a decentralized identity, so there's no central honeypot. And in my opinion, decentralized digital identity is the way forward in the next iteration of a digital identity. Now, when we talk about the trust, when I was giving an example about verifiable credential, because verifiable credential is actually the infrastructure of trust. So in this whole model, we have 3 main players. One is the government, one is the citizen, and the third one is the verifiers or the relying parties. So government are the ones who sets the rule, who actually issues verifiable credentials to a citizen. Citizens are the ones who hold that credential in their wallet, and they own the data. They are the ones who decide what to share, when to share, and whom to share. Verifiers are the ones who are the authorized relying parties, who are actually authorized by the government, that you are authorized to verify my citizens in the country to pay for the access of the services and all that stuff. This particular diagram, what you see today, it's a very famous diagram. It's called Triangle of Trust, because if you look at it, citizen trust the credential which is issued by the government. Citizen put the trust in the verifiers who are actually verifying your verifiable credential, and citizens can actually trust the verifier that my credential can be verified, And all in all, if you look at, this is a three-way of a triangle of trust which is being created. So when we talk about moving from the centralized to decentralized, one of the biggest questions, I think last year also many of you guys asked me, is that we have a centralized ecosystem, how we move from centralized to decentralized. So if you look at this diagram, at the foundation, you have the national ID databases, all the different health records, all the PII information. Above it, you have the foundational level CRVS, which is actually present in most of the countries. What you need is a credential issuance platform based on international standards. And top of it, I think we can develop a super app or a wallet which can be used by the governments to do the verification with all the private parties. One important point I think many people get confused is that digital wallet is actually the main thing which is need to do a decentralized ID. Digital wallet is simple, one small step to access all these services through a decentralized digital ID. One of the important questions is that who holds the key when we go from centralized to decentralized. Centralized, today we know that the government holds the biometric database. So when we talk about decentralizing, does it mean that the government loses the control over the data or the biometric information? That is not true. The government still holds the rules. They are the only trusted issuer in the country. They are the one who sets the framework and audit every verifier and monetize the whole ecosystem. Sovereignty is preserved by the design of a decentralized digital ID. When it comes to citizens, citizens are the one who holds the wallet, who holds the credential inside their digital wallet. They are the one who choose what to share, when to share, and whom to share. And they can get a very faster access to all the services from the relying party. Now, when it comes to the whole monetization model, that when we talk about going from centralized to decentralized, we have divided into 5 different steps. The first step would be issuance of a credential. So like with the current national ID or your physical ID cards, we feel that the digital credential or verifiable credential should be free of charge for the citizens. They don't need to pay for it. The second step would be to authorize each and every verifiers. For example, every airline, every airport, every bank, every telco needs to be authorized by the government that you are allowed to do a verification for the verifiable credential in the country. Third step would be when citizen tries to use these services, they try to present the credential via a digital wallet. It can be done both in person and offline, online also. And it follows the principle of privacy first disclosure, like a selective disclosure. You share what you want to share. For example, if you want to buy an alcohol, you don't need to share your father's name. You just need to share who you are, if you are over 18 or not. So this is the meaning of privacy first disclosure. The fourth one is when the relying party validates the credential. This is done via a trust token, which is issued by the government to the verifiers. And third one will be to monetize the whole verification, where the private sector, the one who uses the whole verification, are the ones who are paying back to the government. So the mantra is that you control the framework, control who verifies, and monetize each and every verification. When it comes to the different revenue models, the first 2 are very famous. The first one is transaction fee model. It signifies exactly the same way what we do today. You pay for each and every verification. The second one is a subscription-based models, where a big relying parties like banks, telcos, they buy a yearly license for unlimited verification. That is something which can be done with decentralized ID also. The third one is a prepaid models. So last year when I was here, one of the government mentioned to me that there are some few telcos or few relying parties who uses their database, but they are not paying them on time. Means there's not a way to control the verifications. And that is why I think the prepaid bundle models are very famous, where you buy X amount of verification trust tokens from us, from the government, and then you use it, and when it depletes, then you buy some more. When it comes to real life use cases, Argentina is one of the world's first decentralized digital ID. We started this journey somewhere in 2020 in the middle of COVID. The project was to do a decentralized digital national ID, but during COVID, we took the same app and we started issuing a COVID vaccination certificate in the same app. Today, it hosts your digital national ID. It also holds a family wallet where the kids can also get their credentials inside the same wallet. It has the vehicle registration. It has all the different university certificates and all that. The program has been running since last 6 years, and till today we have issued more than 20 million credentials, and it is a very good program which is still running. So at the end, I would say from Topan, we have been doing the digitization of the government since last 20 years. Till today, we have digitized more than 22 different countries. So we started our journey with centralized. We moved towards decentralized with Argentina. And we are very ready to collaborate with the governments in all the different types of business models. If you're looking for a BOT or if you're looking for a PPP, we are very ready to do that. And if you need to see some few demos, you can come to our booth on M11. We also provide access to our sandbox environment, which we call Topan Playground. So if you are a government, if you want to look at how you can move from centralized to decentralized, this is something I think which we can access today in the booth today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kumar. Just stand there. And okay, if you need the interpreter, please. Okay, like I'm getting one now, so you may need to get one for the next speaker. And also for the questions, the Slido is on the screen. Let's make sure that. Yes.
Pour les gens qui n'ont pas d'écouteurs, la présentation suivante va être en français, donc pensez à prendre des écouteurs, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
Thank you. So the next speaker too is going to speak in French, so you may need the handset. So let's see some of the questions on the slide, please. Let's see the slider, please. But before then, and I have one question for you. That for countries that have developed more than 100 million, so if they are now introducing this transactional layer, don't you think that we will then reintroduce exclusion?
The answer to that question is that you don't need to think. We have already done it in Philippines. Philippines is a country of 100 million population. They went from centralized ID with a PDF with a QR code to a decentralized digital ID with eGov.ph. And what we did is that they were already having a biometric database and citizen information database as a trusted source of record. And we bought the whole verifiable credentials platform. We built on top of it, and they're able to use verifiable credentials today. So the question is not like it's very easy to do it. It's just that you need a will to do it actually. And we have a very real life example in Philippines.
Okay. Slido, please. So in one of your website, you talked about the implementing blockchain and MPC. So in this Africa, most of the ID systems are not. Okay. So me too, I have to. Okay, thank you. That the slider was unable to be on the screen, but we can scan it and then follow up on our mobile phones. So I'll also do the same thing to ask questions. So my question before was about blockchain. So, and we know most of the identity systems that we have in Africa are not really implemented on that blockchain. How easy is it to move to the blockchain technology?
So I'm a sales guy, but I'll try to answer this question. It is not blockchain. The technology is called verifiable credentials. It's a very different, there's a very big difference between blockchain and verifiable credentials. I would say the logic is still the same, but you need to understand that today, when we talk about decentralized digital ID or with verifiable credential, you're only talking about in-country, but imagine if you want to digitize your passport today, so that needs to be done in a very decentralized way based on the international standards. And that is the way forward, and that is how it needs to be done actually. And we have a real life examples when you talk about including international documents, like there are many pilots on DTC which are going on, and decentralizes the way forward actually.
Okay, one of the questions on the slide is how will you ensure data security on a decentralized system?
Okay, so I'll give you a scenario that you have a current centralized digital ID where all your citizens' data is in one database. Imagine a hacker comes and it hacks that database and all your citizen data are compromised. When it comes to decentralized digital ID, all the different data are actually sitting in this in the smartphone on each and every citizen of your country. So it's very much impossible to hack every smartphone in a country. But suppose it's a very good hacker, very knowledgeable hacker, it tries to hack it, it's fine. The second stage would be to hack the secure element of your phone, because if you talk about decentralized digital ID, your decentralized digital ID is actually stored on the secure element of your smartphone. The third step would be that even if he tries to hack the secure element, it needs to get the certificates to decrypt the digital ID. And that is something which sits with the government. So the whole concept of these standards is that it has made sure that the compromise or the security of data is absolutely perfect. And there are many different ways to prevent the hacking of the digital ID.
Okay, well, there are many questions on the Slido, but I believe that you may have to take them offline, but there are many, many of them. So, but one last one is Philippines digital ID based on an open source solution?
No, so there are two different systems which is going in Philippines. One is by Philippine Statistical Authority, that is based on the open standards by MOSIP. The second one is an app called eGovPH, which is being run by Department of Information and Communication Technology. And that is the app which is based on the international standards from ISO 18013-5 and 23220 and the standards from W3C's verifiable credential.
Okay, thank you. The last one is that I'm trying to understand Topan's view on decentralized identity. What does the term mean in your own implementation?
Topan's view is that the way forward is to go towards a decentralized digital ID. If you take a look at the history of the identity, we started from the physical documents, we came from the centralized digital ID. But this whole concept of centralized digital ID was developed 10 years ago, and at that time it was very good. But as the world progresses, the hackers also develop their knowledge. So I think the way forward is to go towards a decentralized digital ID.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay. Our next speaker is no one else but Hassan Mar, founder and CEO of IDACO. He's going to talk to us on digital identity, the engine of trust ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, I decided to perform my presentation in French. It's just because I think we have many French spoken. This is the first reason, but maybe the second because we are sponsoring the translation and I wanted you to enjoy that moment. So, mesdames et messieurs, merci beaucoup avant tout d'être présents, aussi nombreux. Je sais que hier, moi, j'ai comptabilisé 4 soirées, donc ça a dû être difficile pour certains, mais merci beaucoup donc d'être matinal aussi et de démarrer aussi nombreux. Je pense que sur la journée d'hier, on a déjà partagé beaucoup de choses qui traitent de l'identité numérique comme d'abord un impact, recherchant un impact sur l'économie en général. On a parlé de l'identité numérique comme un moteur pour la croissance et le développement durable. Donc, je vais aller plutôt toujours dans le même sens. Et dans ma présentation, on souhaite aujourd'hui partager avec vous une vision, une conviction et probablement une certaine approche du déploiement des plateformes d'identité numérique. Personnellement, j'ai passé 30 ans dans le déploiement des plateformes d'identité numérique dans le secteur aussi bien public que privé. J'ai appris beaucoup dans le monde du privé sur le déploiement de l'identité numérique parce que beaucoup de technologies sous-jacentes ont été reprises dans le cadre du déploiement qu'on est en train de vivre sur l'identité numérique. Donc oui, avec 30 ans d'expérience, on se forge une conviction, une certaine conviction de ce que pourrait être le déploiement d'une plateforme d'identité numérique. Je commencerai par dire d'abord quelque chose qui consiste à dire que certainement que le déploiement juste de registres, d'identité, le déploiement même d'une carte d'identité numérique, soit-elle, la digitalisation d'une carte d'identité n'est pas vraiment le déploiement d'une plateforme d'identité numérique. Le déploiement d'une plateforme d'identité numérique est bien la couche de confiance qu'on souhaite établir et sur laquelle on va baser toute l'économie numérique. Donc vous pensez bien qu'effectivement c'est une véritable problématique parce que cette couche de confiance va permettre d'offrir ce moteur de croissance et de développement durable. Donc évidemment, quand on regarde sur l'Afrique, et je comprends et avoir discuté avec beaucoup aussi hier et partagé, je pense que la problématique demeure en Afrique qu'un Africain sur 3 n'a pas d'identité tout court. Donc je comprends parfaitement bien que les enjeux tournent autour de la construction de registres, de la construction de registres biométriques, de l'attribution d'identifiants uniques, de recensement d'abord de sa population, mais au-delà de ces registres, on va essayer de rechercher les usages. Et au-delà de ces usages, on souhaite effectivement avoir de l'impact sur l'économie globalement et surtout sur les secteurs essentiels de la vie qu'on pourrait tous reprendre et que je reprendrai dans ma présentation. Alors, au cœur de tout ça, la plateforme numérique, d'identité numérique, va avoir à profiter d'un certain nombre de dynamiques clés de développement et qui, avant tout, commencent par l'enrôlement. Donc l'enrôlement, c'est des choses que certainement vous avez eues dans beaucoup de projets, donc digitalisation de l'état civil, des méthodes d'enregistrement, des e-KYC gouvernementaux, mais au-delà de tout ça, un identifiant unique, certainement nécessaire. Je fais partie des personnes qui pensent que c'est très lié à la culture. Dans tous les pays, on ne va pas faire un identifiant unique. Dans certains pays en Europe, on n'a même pas du tout d'identifiant ou de registre. Je pense qu'en Afrique, la problématique demeure sur l'enrôlement. L'identifiant unique obtenu dans l'enrôlement est une chose, son usage en est une autre et on verra plus tard. La deuxième dynamique, c'est la construction des infrastructures, parce que déployer à l'échelle nécessite des infrastructures solides. Alors effectivement, on a beaucoup aujourd'hui des déploiements aussi du réseau, tout court, tout simplement, mais aussi le déploiement de cette infrastructure numérique capable d'accueillir une plateforme déployée à l'échelle. On ne vise pas 1 ou 2% de la population, on vise la majorité, voire la totalité de la population, et donc l'infrastructure doit tenir. Dans ces dynamiques-là aussi, je vais mentionner la digitalisation des services. Beaucoup d'efforts sont faits de digitalisation qui peuvent être décorrélés du déploiement de l'identité numérique elle-même, mais sur la digitalisation des services, on peut parler de wallet, on peut parler de super app, mais certainement que la super app déployée toute seule n'est pas le déploiement d'une identité numérique. Et qu'aujourd'hui, le déploiement des cas d'usage concrets, répertorier ces cas d'usage est quelque chose, est un chantier qui est très important et qui est une dynamique qui va servir et qui va s'appuyer sur cette plateforme d'identité numérique que nous proposons. Une quatrième dynamique aussi très importante est la dynamique qui consiste à travailler le cadre légal. Souvent, c'est quelque chose qui est ignoré. Or, donner à l'identité numérique une légitimité, il va falloir effectivement bien regarder les textes. Il y a une sorte aussi de gouvernance. Quelle est l'organisation qui pourrait être l'émettrice et quelles sont les règles de protection des données? Quelles sont les pénalités probablement sur le non-respect de la protection des données, ainsi de suite. Et je ne vais pas lister en fait l'ensemble des mesures, mais souvent qui peuvent passer et certainement par des lois dans les différents pays. Alors, dans tout ça, l'identité fondamentale, pour qu'elle ait un impact sectoriel et être au cœur, c'est là où on dit qu'elle ne doit pas être utilisée. Et ce que j'entends par l'identité fondamentale, c'est l'identité régalienne, c'est l'identité route, c'est l'identité qui est à l'origine de tout, c'est l'identité qui est certifiée par le gouvernement, par l'État, par la nation. Ce qui est important, c'est qu'à partir de cette identité, on arrive à dériver des identités sectorielles. Ce n'est pas d'en faire un usage dans chaque secteur, mais d'avoir une dérivation qui permet en fait de contrôler l'accès aux différentes données que nous souhaitons fédérer. Donc, les bases de données sont propriétaires de chaque secteur. L'accès à ces datas doit être unlocké par une identité sectorielle dérivée de l'identité fondamentale. Donc, c'est un moyen de sécuriser cette donnée, c'est un moyen de vérifier les accès, et c'est bien là que se situe tout l'enjeu de l'identité et de la couche de fédération qu'on souhaite placer dans une plateforme qui permet de gérer d'une manière très transparente l'accès aux différents services pour un utilisateur qui est bien authentifié par son identité fondamentale et régalienne. C'est un sujet très important, très sensible. Je pense que beaucoup de déploiements peuvent se faire en utilisant un identifiant unique. Et c'est là où deux approches doivent se concilier. L'approche de l'usage, l'approche de la simplicité, l'unicité effectivement de cette identité, mais aussi le fait de respecter les données, la privacy. Les données personnelles sont un précieux qui est aujourd'hui la traduction de la souveraineté de chaque être humain, et il est important de concilier ces deux approches en séparant l'identité fondamentale des identités sectorielles. Alors, dans une approche, je dirais, transversale, il est important de voir que la construction d'un écosystème ou d'une plateforme publique pour un écosystème intersectoriel doit être créée sur un socle sécurisé pour les services publics numériques. Donc on va rechercher en fait une sorte de hub qui permet d'échanger ces données sectorielles d'une manière cohérente, assurant la fluidité et les échanges de données entre les différents secteurs. Et c'est justement cette plateforme, c'est ce hub qui doit s'appuyer sur cette plateforme d'identité qui va devenir le socle de confiance, la couche de confiance sur laquelle va reposer toute l'économie numérique. Donc placer l'identité au cœur du dispositif est l'étape qui doit précéder ou être immédiatement et en parallèle déployée que la plateforme d'échange de données entre les différentes administrations. Et c'est là où on pourra faire dialoguer les systèmes entre les différentes administrations, les différents secteurs, parce qu'il peut y avoir des cas d'usage où des informations bancaires peuvent être demandées par une administration, des informations qui relèvent de l'employeur qui peuvent être demandées par l'administration. Cela facilitera les échanges intersectoriels d'une manière cohérente et d'une manière fédérée. Alors, quels peuvent être les piliers de déploiement à l'échelle? Je pense qu'on l'a vu, revu, redit, mais il est important de le rappeler à chaque fois. C'est d'abord des services inclusifs, parce que... Très bien. Parce que les services inclusifs doivent traiter de la fracture numérique, les services inclusifs doivent permettre d'adresser tout le monde, y compris des zones rurales, et évidemment avoir l'adoption citoyenne la plus large, au cœur la sécurité et la confiance, et c'est là où on pourrait effectivement déployer le plus de cas d'usage possible, parce que c'est là où le citoyen va se rendre compte de l'importance pour lui et pour sa vie de tous les jours. La souveraineté, elle est au cœur de tout, aussi bien pour la nation comme pour l'utilisateur, pour la protection des données. Donc fédérer plutôt que centraliser, parce que nous allons adresser chaque secteur avec une identité dérivée, des systèmes orchestrés, et ce qui permet la grande scalabilité et des coûts mutualisés. Alors, au cœur de ça, la confiance, effectivement, parce que, à mon sens, beaucoup de déploiements sont partis très tôt dans d'autres régions du monde aussi, et il faut partir sur de bonnes bases, parce que déployer de l'identité numérique, c'est quelque chose qui d'abord doit reposer sur de la sécurité. Alors nous pouvons le faire avec des cartes d'identité sécurisées, certes, mais pas uniquement. Il est possible de digitaliser et de faire des identités dérivées. Et puis je pense beaucoup de mes confrères ont parlé du wallet. Il est évidemment quelque chose qui trace le futur et qui permet, avec ce que fait entre autres l'Europe, d'industrialiser sur la base de normes la confiance. Je pense que la conférence de Florent Tournoire pour la France et l'Europe détaillera beaucoup plus l'intérêt du wallet et les cas d'usage. J'y vais très vite. L'orchestration viendra justement à travers aussi des services qui sont proposés par ces wallets, mais des applications sectorielles, des portails citoyens, mais aussi des kiosques, parce que des fois, on a vu des cas où des portables n'avaient pas de NFC, on ne peut pas lire des cartes à puce, etc. J'y vais très vite, mais je voudrais quand même mentionner que cette approche-là, sectorielle, on voit l'impact sur des projets de très large envergure. Je veux bien citer l'Égypte qui déploie le plus grand système e-KYC au monde parce que s'appuie sur une identité fondamentale et permet par une identité sectorielle d'avoir les applications bancaires. La France pour la santé, mais récemment pour la Coupe Afrique des Nations au Maroc, le Fan ID. Très rapidement, l'utilisateur est au centre dans ce cas-là et c'est là où on en profite. Et puis, quelques mots sur Idacto, plus de 10 millions de wallets déployés aujourd'hui, 100 millions de transactions, une quinzaine de pays avec qui on travaille sur des modèles d'identité différents en fonction de leur réglementation et de leurs besoins. Et donc, je vous propose de poursuivre peut-être sur le boost d'Idacto qui, je pense qu'il est visible. On ne m'a pas dit quel était le boost ici, mais je pense que c'est le M12 ou 16. C'est le M16, mais je pense que vous n'allez pas nous rater. On a une hauteur qui a été choisie par l'équipe qui est assez impressionnante. Merci en tout cas pour votre écoute et je pense avoir maîtrisé le temps. Aziz?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, you are right on time for questions and answers, and you have lots of questions. So maybe you have to take some of them with you. But one says, hi Hassan, is trust mainly about government keeping its promises? If yes, should governance come before implementation?
If governance should come before?
Should governance come before implementation? That is trust mainly about government keeping its promises? So should governance come before implementation? That is the question for you. But it's not very, very clear.
No, I think for me, governance is very important because governance is well, you will define, I mean, what's the role of each organization. And I think in many countries, and I think for each state you can see, I mean, if this is not well defined, it will be really a problem to get the deployment real. You need to also define, if we derivate the identity for each sector, to be sure that how it can be proceeded from the foundational identity to the sectorial one. So governance is important, defining the role of each organization is very important. Before the deployment of the identity platform, I don't know, because sometimes, some identity platform with the emergency and the urgent need to deploy the use case has been deployed before the governance, but necessarily will need to put the rules before implementing a large digital implementation. Yeah, I don't know if,
Thank you.
maybe
The screen went off. Please, Shwana, the screen is off. I can't.
or raise the hand.
I can't see the questions again, but there were many questions. Let her bring that screen. Thank you. Because there were many, so I just have to pick 2 or 3. One says some are I wanted to pick the fresh questions. There are some that are not used. So like this one 5 minutes ago, it says, how to ensure both security and privacy of the DPE at scale. That is when you have a large system. How do you ensure both security and privacy?
More we decentralize, more we get that assurance about the privacy. More we centralize, more we have that risk of losing data. And I think today we are shifting from a central attack on data, because I mean, we all see the event all over the world, and the question is not anymore, I mean, when we will be hacked for the data. The question is when. For sure we will be hacked. So that means, I mean, if we are centralized, you will be hacked. If you are decentralized, you can assure both the security and the privacy. And that's why today the decentralization architecture is gaining a lot in many deployments. This is the future, but it needs to stabilize the norms and standards. And Europe is one of the regions that is defining really very well, but it needs to be stabilized and normalized and show effectiveness in the deployment.
Okay, thank you. There's another question is on the screen there, that if the government holds the rules, should they sell our data or make it free and accessible to everyone? That's the question at the top there.
Our data or make it free or accessible for everyone. I don't think the government should sell your data. Definitely, this is my personal opinion. I think the government should take care about that the data is not sold. And the question maybe behind this, it's how to monetize the usage of the identity, because any system needs also a business model, and we should find that business model. But maybe with gaining time and many things, we can find the money to fund that digital identity, but not in selling the data.
So the verification should be free.
Well, I mean, this question maybe is based on the centralization of the data, which is not the opinion today. I think the data, and especially the personal data, and all what you will have, like your bank account, your many information that you will collect, should be under the sovereignty of the user. Nobody should sell it. That's why, I mean, any system for digital identity should manage the consent of the users. So it's not the data for free or to sell, it's just to be under the sovereignty of the users and of course of the government and global. That's why the government should not be locked. The sovereignty of the government, it's the privacy of the whole nation. So no data to be sold. This is the opinion.
Okay, this question is in French. Can you just read it?
In French, OK. Comment définir l'identité numérique de santé à partir de l'identité numérique nationale et les fédérés? Je pense que une identité de santé, souvent dans beaucoup de pays, elle est indépendante et autonome. Souvent, elle est liée à des organisations qui sont autonomes et indépendantes. Et pour des raisons de protection des données de santé qui sont encore beaucoup plus précieuses que toute autre donnée, il est évident que l'identifiant santé doit être autonome et généré par l'entité de santé. Par contre, pour pouvoir s'assurer que cette identité de santé est donnée à la bonne personne, c'est là où on va vérifier. C'est ce qui se passe sur la carte vitale en France. C'est-à-dire pour pouvoir enrôler et digitaliser la carte vitale sur le téléphone, on a pu le faire grâce à l'identité France Identité et à l'identité souveraine.
Thank you very much, Hassan.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's move to digitally trusted nations, and I'm called Raman Mohan Baneredi, founder and CEO, Digital Trust Technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, Africa. Yeah, so many decision makers, so many innovators, so many technologies. It's my pleasure to stand in front of you and share our thought processes. During the last 2 decades of the journey, one question which kept haunting me was, when will we see a full utilization of the digital ID initiatives by implementing use cases across the country, across the sectors, across the organizations? It still haunts me. And when we dig deep into this, what we try to understand is this. The rule book is always there. I said the same thing in the last ID for Africa speech as well. The rule book is always there. The question is, how do we convert the rule book into a playbook and implement the playbook so that we realize the potential of the entire digital ID, or so to say digital trust in a digital economy. So all through, the ID has gone through several stages of innovations, right from paper to the today's digital ID, which is on your phones and as per the standards and all that. But if you look at what happened on the usage, it stayed low to moderate. Why? The reasons remained constant irrespective of the technology innovations. The reasons like, we look at this as a technology project. We look at this as integration, repeated integrations. And when we talk about the smart card based as a form factor, the device cost, who will bear it, and then who will prioritize the device cost, infrastructure is too expensive. And the balance of push and pull. And I'm very happy to see some of the questions. Should government play a critical role to start with, or should the innovations go ahead of government and regulation? We feel it's a balance of push and pull. Push is a regulator, and pull is a ROI. Many occasions we see that we roll out the digital ID, and the first use case that we think about is the authentication. As a citizen, is it my requirement? Am I excited about authentication as a use case? If I wear the hat of the citizen, the answer is no. It's a regulation and a security requirement. Yes, it benefits me, but there is no serious impact in my life. So how do we look at the powerful use cases is one of the serious things which remain unanswered. So this is an attempt when innovations are happening on the ID side, why the adoption still is low to moderate. This is an attempt to articulate what we think as a framework. It's no more about inclusion, it's no more about digital ID, it's not about any of those. Can we think differently? I remember, I really like this title of one book, What Got Us Here Won't Get Us There. If we repeat the same, do we get different results? So we tried to articulate something which is called digitally trusted nations. It's an attempt to define a framework which enables countries to achieve the trust in the digital economies and digital ecosystems by way of accelerating the adoption of use cases, monetization of the use cases, and make sure that the entire program is sustainable and grow. Very important thing that we immediately got down to is, what is digital trust? Is ID problem solving or identity problem solving is digital trust? Is it that? Is it that alone? While ID and identity verification is one of the key enabling aspects in the trust, but it's only a necessary condition but not sufficient. So what else is required? So primarily, if the citizens have to feel happy, feel empowered, feel benefited, what they want a safe, secured service delivery, and they want a predictable service delivery by the government. The second part is very, very critical. So we believe countries should look at digital trust as a combination of the technically solving the problems related to trust and bringing in the predictability of service delivery. Combine these two. The technical aspects of digital trust enables secure, safe delivery. But how exactly it is being delivered? Is it SLA driven? Can citizens be very confident that if my government says this is the service delivered in, as per this SLA, is it trustworthy? Is it trustable? When governments achieve both together, we believe it is called digital trust. And the rest of the presentation is about how this perhaps can be achieved. Again, we don't claim this as a final framework, but it's a starting point. It is expected to trigger some, discussions. So we then thought about what could be the blueprint. Where do we start? The very important thing is an executive commitment. What is executive commitment? Is it just that a decree or a law issued or a law made? No. Then there is a strategy, then there is an execution model. The best of the strategies will fail if there is no matching execution. Then the technology strategies, the governance and monitoring, and the sustainability and scalability. These 6 pillars, I believe, have to be addressed as a framework, and then make sure that the use case adoptions are driven effectively. Of course, the guardrails, they are centered around the cohesiveness, leadership commitment and cohesiveness and joined up approach. This joined up approach is to break down the silos of how government operates. So this is the framework we believe can be a starting point, and obviously this has to be deliberated, discussed, roundtables, and arrive at a model that works. This attempt is to kickstart that process. Executive commitment, most important thing is, are today's ID authorities who are supposed to drive this empowered enough to cut across all the agencies and to ensure that there is a joined up approach in achieving the trust and along with that achieving the service delivery to the people and businesses in the country? Are these aligned with the national priorities? Or is there a ministry level priorities, or is there a department level priorities? And is there is there a legal framework? The Privacy, the Digital Signature Acts, or the Trust Services Acts, the Digital ID law. Many countries are looking at the digital ID laws, special or specific digital ID laws. And then, how do we drive this whole thing as a change management? When government used to function in a particular way, how do we look at this change? And what are the change elements and who are the change agents? That needs to be figured out. Then the strategy. So first of all, there is a trust foundation that is required. And on the trust foundation, we need to look at the core enablers, which together enable the adoption at scale and growth and sustainability. So this is the way strategy needs to be looked at as we feel. I thank all my earlier speakers. They have set the tone. What is the PPP model, and various digital ID ecosystems and all that. So I'm not going to get into those. So primarily, if government looks at achieving this on its own, like someone said, it has to be a PPP initiative. In addition to PPP initiative, we believe there needs to be an innovation ecosystem that needs to be built around this framework, so that innovators in the country are empowered to come up with innovative solutions to solve specific problems for various sectors. Right? So this is another element one has to seriously look at if the adoption at scale has to happen and sustain. Execution model, basically, there are two approaches. And one approach is that you need to have audacious goals. Otherwise, if you don't aim sky, you don't even reach the clouds. So we need to have audacious goals and the matching execution plans to achieve those goals. And it has to be a holistic and whole of nation approach. And it has to be based on the priorities. If we go with easy use cases like authentication, is easy. Is that a great value? It is of value, but is that all? Citizens are bothered about, am I getting my benefits in time without any problem? Right? And am I safe in the transactions? Is my document safe? Am I in control of my documents? Is government taking my consent real time before anything is shared about me? Am I empowered to change my own privacy settings or my own privacy rules in line with the regulation again? So these are some of the aspects to be considered when you are designing the execution model. And there needs to be an adoption ecosystem. It's not about just define a use case, define tech use case, and then implement it, and then it will start, flourishing. And through high impact use cases, it gives you inroads into, take a deep dive into the markets, figure out the problems, work with sectoral regulators and as to what the sector is facing as a problems, take a deep dive and solve those problems. That is the deeper market engagements. And then there needs to be a mechanism to measure the impact end of the use cases. Unless we measure the impact of the implementation of a use case, we believe use cases are done, but is it making really an impact? So this is the whole execution model is should be around these. We dare to propose something, but again, like I said, this is to kickstart a lot of debate and a lot of discussions among the community members. The rule book is not a problem, like I said. It has to be inclusive, it has to be ecosystem, it has to be regulatory compliant, it is citizen centric. They're all valid, right? And how do we do it? And we need to encourage the innovators. How do we do it? So we came up with something called digital trust infrastructure. It may sound like digital public infrastructure, but we call it as digital trust infrastructure because that revolves around digital identity, which solves these two problems of ID and identity. Digital ID services and digital trust services, which solves the problems related to the documents, the contracts, the data in itself, audit records, are they immutable? Are they tamper-proof? So the third pillar is the trust services. The fourth pillar, which I just talked about at the initial stage, is have we standardized the service delivery framework? Have we standardized the service level agreement-based service delivery? Is this being managed and monitored? So that's the fourth pillar, we believe, if we have to gain the trust of citizens and businesses in the country. Then the most important thing, use case adoption strategy. We believe stakeholders play different roles. Again, like what my earlier speakers covered, there are document issuers, there are service providers, which are nothing but the relying parties. The businesses, they consume a lot of services, and the citizens. So each role has certain demands. The use cases have to be centered around the roles and the impact that they can create on the service providers. And by the customer segments, the banking related problems are slightly different. While technology wise it's the same problem and same solution, they apply. The impact that it can create is different. So we need to look at the sector. We need to look at things like cascading use cases. For example, if you implement one use case, that demands a lot of use cases to be implemented. Do we look at that and prioritize those? And then if we have to prioritize, what could be the rules or the prioritization framework? Look at the prioritization framework as. The service providers is basically they look at the unified journey. So we need to look at unified journey for the service providers. And the regulation wise, there needs to be a regulatory and monitoring framework. And at scale, the sustainability of the initiative can only be through monetization. So we believe that citizens should not be charged too much. We can charge the service providers based on the usage per transaction. And it has to be, in a PPP model, it has to be shared in line with the value proposition. And the driver for driving this entire innovation is the the center of excellence, we believe. And we propose a need for measuring what is called digitally trusted nations, DTN index. It's a change management. The impact is inclusion, service delivery, and sustainability. Throughout the journey, this is about digital trust. Good part is the subject is digital trust and name of the company is also Digital Trust. So I am Ram Mohan Reddy, CEO, Digital Trust, and working on enabling digital trust in digital ecosystems. We grew from ID and identity verification to today's DTI, and we are too happy to get into discussions. We are at booth M22. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Any questions, I'll be glad to take. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. We have many questions, but there is a question that has been coming up from the beginning that I did not clearly understand from the presentations. What problem the wallet is solving? Will you clarify?
Yeah, the wallet is supposed to solve the problem of ID and identity proofing in a decentralized manner, not without depending on the centralized infrastructure. It's supposed to solve the two problems of ID proofing, which is your ID document genuine, and are we able to verify the ID holder, ID issuer, and are we able to establish the integrity of the document itself? It is supposed to solve these three problems, and identity is you as an individual.
Okay. The other question that has been coming up is about MOSIP. They are saying what actually MOSIP is solving and why companies are selling it. I don't know whether it's for you or for the colleagues, but it has been popping up a lot of times.
Rahul is laughing. He's smiling. So maybe I'm not the right guy to answer this question. MOSIP is supposed to solve the problem of foundational ID, your enrollment deduplication, and making sure that there is an ID issued to every single person. And if I may dare to say, it is supposed to contribute to the fulfillment of SDG 16.9.
Some of those questions are not on my screen here, but let me check. Those are not specific. They are not specific to you, they are older ones. So, but among the, like your Ugandan experience, among land, e-health, and social, which one drove the adoption of the wallet?
Okay, there are different kinds of countries. The countries who are a bit more matured in terms of e-services, countries who are maturing. Most of the Africa falls, our big portion falls into the second category. We are working with two types of countries. One, with the countries who are more matured in the e-services, it is the most of the use cases around wallet were the KYC and KYC anywhere, anytime. I mean, we don't have to go to the physical place, KYC anywhere, anytime. And digital signature, this is another use case. Whereas in Uganda, we have the digital ID wallet. Right now, the most use cases that we are pursuing is the digital signature, document signing, making sure that there is a trust in the documents issued by the government and they are digitally verifiable.
Okay, so I can say thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we now move to the last but not the least. Javier Prost is the Managing Director of Veridos, and he's going to speak to us on vision, execution, and results, paving the strategic path to success.
Thank you very much. Bonjour à tous. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be there today to present how a vision, how an execution which is shared between the public sector and the private sector can lead to success. So today, during my presentation, I will address three main topics. The first one, the PPP, which should reinforce the presentation of my friend Rahul, and I believe that will be quite consistent, which is great. Then we'll talk about the strategic foundation for national identity ecosystem. And last but not least, we will address the practical lessons beyond. So first of all, what is a PPP? As mentioned by Rahul, PPP stands for Public-Private Partnership. This is a business model which is independent from the technology being used. Now the question is, why is there any need for a business model like a PPP? What we can see is that the government are facing a challenge, because the security identity systems are capital intensive, they are technology driven and rapidly evolving. And what we can observe is that often governments alone are facing also constraints in funding, scalability, speed of innovation, and life cycle management. So the government have to find a solution for these constraints, because here we all know that identity is an engine for economic growth and delivery of service. Indeed, we know that identity can enable the financial inclusion through the banking account opening, digital payment, or mobile money. But also, it can support the access to private and public services, like for healthcare, education, or telecom. So we strongly believe that the PPP is the right answer to all these constraints and will help to reduce the time to market. So PPP allows for the sharing of the contribution of the different stakeholders, which is, from our perspective, very important to mitigate risk for public authorities as well as for the private providers. So now, how does it work for a national ID program? The government will provide the legal authorities. They will provide the policies, they will provide the standards, so they will contribute to the governance. But also they have to provide the long-term national vision, which is a key topic. On their side, the private sectors will provide the advanced security technologies, like for biometrics, cryptography, software platform, hardware. The private sector will also bring operational expertise and innovation. And last but not least, the private sector is also there to find some solution for financing. So what are the results of this contribution from the different stakeholders? First, we can expect a faster rollout, which is, I believe, a critical point. But it will help also to increase security and to improve the quality of service. Nowadays, the current geopolitical situation has significantly increased the security requirement, especially around identity. We need very reliable civil registers. We need very high secure documents. We need some solution also for border control, as well as for digital solution. Here, we can observe that the government and the private partner are sharing a common objective. For the PPP, so the public-private partnership, it should be derived by aligning vision, goals, and strategic priorities. What we can observe also is that with this new business model, the relationship will change. We are not anymore in the vendor-client model. Indeed, a long-term partner-partner relationship must be set in order to secure and modern the identity system, which will be the benefits for the government. And also for the private sector, we'll need a longer contract in order to be able to absorb the investment, because the cost must be spread over the time. We can see that most countries face strong demand for new or upgraded security identity infrastructure, but often with a very limited financial space. So this new setup should allow governments to launch new projects without large investment, and sometimes also loans from international financial institutions. What we have to understand is that this business model is going beyond the delivery of technology. A core pillar is the knowledge and the technology transfer. And with that, a kind of local empowerment will create stronger institutions for the government, local employment, and also, very important, sustainable revenue opportunity in the country. So we can see that the success depends on the clear business model where both parties will benefit, always with the respect of the public interest and the national priorities. So to come back, we have already briefly addressed the topic, but what are the benefits of this business model of a public-private partnership. First, no initial investment are required, or very minor investment. Then this is also the opportunity to educate and to empower citizens through modern digital services. This is also the opportunity to build internal capacities while retaining control over data privacy and operation. I think this is a topic which has been already addressed today, the data privacy and the control of the data by the government. Again, you are the owner of your data. We are just providing the tools and you are managing your data. Last but not least, one of the benefits is to establish a reliable, trusted framework that strengthens public confidence. This is very important that all the citizens will trust the services that they are using and that we are providing. Now, I would like to talk about a real-world implementation with this approach of PPP. USPC in Uganda is a joint venture between the government of Uganda and Veridos as a private company. A joint venture can be considered as a private PPP which builds a new local legal entity, which allows the stakeholders to navigate in different projects in the country. So what are the cornerstones of the cooperation? USPC, the joint venture, is mandated to deliver all the security documents to government departments and agencies, with the exception of the banknotes. Veridos acts as the exclusive supplier for raw material and semi-finished goods. And Veridos is also considered as the preferred supplier for complementary goods outside of the Veridos or GND, which is the shareholder of Veridos, so outside of their usual portfolio scope. What is very important there is that Veridos serves as the technology provider, including structured technology transfer to ensure local ownership and sustainability. What are the key lessons? The first point is that we must ensure compliance with the local legal, tax, and entity requirement. That's a very important point. What we have observed is that in some cases we need an adaptation of the laws, because the laws must evolve to support modern and efficient operation. What we have seen also is that sometimes we have to modernize the regulation. Indeed, in some cases, the legacy laws have been built around paper-based process, which is great. But now, with the digital services, we can see that this regulation can block end-to-end digital workflows. So we need an adaptation there. In conclusion, I would like to highlight that the successful partnerships are built on the clear business model with defined use case contribution and financing supported by associated services. Because if we don't have any associated services, there will be no way to create some value for the states, but also for the private sector, for the industry, which will enable a good and successful PPP. Based on that, I'm happy to receive any question and also later to host you on the booth of Veridos, which is located not far away from IDACTO. And the booth is the M27. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just wait there for questions. We have some few questions for you directed, like majority of people wants to learn from failure, not the successes. So one of the questions is that which various projects in Africa failed or did not meet expectation, and what did you learn from them?
I mean, the question is around the project which have failed or succeed. I don't know if this is completely linked
or did not
to
meet
the PPP.
expectation. Yeah. And what did you learn from them? Because people want to learn from failure, not really only the successes, that they want to learn from failure. Any of your projects in Africa that failed or did not meet the expectation?
Yeah. I think that the key point there at the beginning is to share a common vision about the project, about what are the outcome of the project. And based on that, what is very important is to have a clear and agreed specification of what we are doing. Most of the time, I think that we can see some frustration or people will consider that as a failure. I don't think so, because the expectations were not clearly explained. So that's the main topic.
Okay.
Then also, the financial aspect could be also a source of failure, because sometimes the budget are not there anymore, and we have to manage that. And I think that where this is very important in the change of the relationship to a long-term partnership is that we must be able to sit together, to discuss, to address the issues, and to find, as partners, the right answer and the right solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question that is directed to you, another one is that who owns the data under a PPP model? Who owns the data?
I mean, as I said, and I think it was already said before, the government will always own the data. This is absolutely not our role as member of the industry to manage your data. We are just there, again, to provide the tools, to provide the services, but in no way we are the owner of the data. And most of the time, we are making sure that the storage of the data is done in your country. So I think this is a key point, because year after year in ID4 Africa, I have this kind of question: how can we be sure that we'll continue to master our data? So the point is very clear. Only the government are the owner of the data.
Okay, thank you. There is one last question here. Most of your questions were somehow twisted. That how can citizens trust or realize when data is tampered by the implementer themselves? That is a public server. That is the implementer, the last one.
Yeah, maybe a bit difficult question, because
I told you.
I think that for the citizen, the system is more a black box. So this is very difficult for them to understand how the data is.
So how
is
will
managed.
they trust that black box that you talk about? How will they trust it if it is a black box? That is the question.
That's a very good point, and I think this is the purpose of our company. This is the commitment of our company to manage the data. To talk just about Veridos, you know, Veridos is a joint venture between Bundesdruckerei, which is the German printing house, and Giesecke & Devrient, which is a German family-owned company. And this company is there since 1852. And since 1852, we are managing security and security data for the citizen. We started to print banknotes in 52, sorry. So being sure that the data are well protected, this is our commitment. And if we are not keeping this commitment, we will not be there anymore today. So I think that our legacy, our history is the proof that the data are managed very carefully to protect, again, the interest of the different government who are our customer and of the citizen of these countries.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You have heard from our distinguished panelists. They have discussed about the wallets, the decentralization, and some form of business model. And they have given us experiences from the projects that they have implemented. There are many questions on the Slido, which I believe that as they have advertised their booths, we should follow their booths and also ask them those questions. Thank you very much for the session. Thank you.
Good. Okay, great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, please, we need you to return your headsets or keep them on the seats. We are missing 38 headsets, and we do need to recover them. So please do not leave the room with your headsets. You can, when you return, you can take them back, but please do not leave the room with them. Okay? The second update is that we'll be returning after
11:45.
Thank you. Okay. So please return at 11:45 for the next session. And we'd also like to thank our sponsors today for today's session, our interpretation sponsor, Idacto. Thank you so much. They presented today. And we'd also like to thank our Wi-Fi sponsor, which is Spacetech. And so we look forward to everyone returning on time for the next session. Thank you.
Mesdames et messieurs, pensez bien à rendre vos casques, s'il vous plaît, à les remettre sur les sièges. Il nous manque aujourd'hui 38 casques qui n'ont pas été retournés. Donc si c'est le cas, si vous en avez un, ramenez-le, s'il vous plaît. Pour tout à l'heure, pour la session suivante, nous vous demandons de revenir pour 11h45. Nous commencerons à l'heure. Et nous souhaitons également remercier nos sponsors pour l'interprétation avec Idacto et notre sponsor Wi-Fi, Spacetech. Merci beaucoup.